Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful idea, how stories can be woven into tangible, real-world change. We're going to explore a concept called threads of change, which basically shows how a simple narrative can become a blueprint for transformation. So, let's get into it.
At its heart, this whole thing is a philosophy about turning friction, conflict and chaos, into something new and constructive. It's all about taking the messy, complicated parts of our world and using stories to reimagine and actually build a different future.
And that leads us to the central question we're digging into today. How does a simple narrative, an idea, a tradition, a struggle, how does that actually transform into a full-blown movement? It's a pretty fascinating process, and we're going to break it all down.
Okay, so the journey from just an idea to real impact follows this clear four-stage roadmap. We start with the foundation, which is all about identifying the core challenge. Then we build a framework. That's the turning point. That leads to growth and transformation. And finally, we hit excellence by creating a measurable impact. Let's start at the beginning, with the foundation.
Every great story, and really every significant change, it always begins with a challenge. This first stage is all about understanding that initial conflict or friction. You could say it's the chaos that comes right before the creation.
So here's a classic conflict that really sparks so many of these stories of change. On one side, you have traditional craft. It's rich with culture, but it's really struggling to survive. And on the other side, you've got mass production. Super efficient, totally dominant, but often it comes at the cost of identity. This is that core friction we're talking about.
To make this all feel a bit more real, let's follow a single story throughout this explainer. Just imagine a rural artisan. Her family has practiced traditional handloom weaving for generations. And then, suddenly, their entire livelihood and culture are threatened by the rise of cheap, mass-produced fashion. That right there, that's our foundational challenge.
So how do you even begin to address this? Well, the key tool at this stage is something called design thinking. And it's not just about making things look pretty, it's a process of deep empathy. This isn't just market research. It means sitting with the artisan, listening to her story, and truly understanding her struggle. That's how you frame the problem in a really human-centered way.
All right, so once you really understand the challenge, you need a structure to guide the way forward. This second section is all about building that framework, the thing that creates the turning point from just a problem to an actual solution.
In our story, this is where the turning point really begins. A young, forward-thinking designer meets our artisan. But they don't just offer a quick fix. Instead, they introduce a new framework for thinking, a new structure for innovation. This creates a partnership that bridges the old world and the new.
Now, the framework they introduce is built on these interlocking concepts that give them a clear path. The 3P culture, that's purpose, people, and process, defines the why and the who. Then the 3C framework provides the how, the attitude, logic, and technique for innovation. And finally, the 5 pillars map out the actual journey to growth, through learning, upskilling, and networking.
And holding all of this together is a concept called spine. It's this reminder that true, sustainable creativity, it requires balance. It's about maintaining your own personal well-being through things like health and hobbies. This ensures that creators, like our artisan and designer, have the personal resilience to see the whole journey through. It's really the human backbone of the entire creative structure.
Okay. So with a solid foundation and a strong framework in place, we now get to move into the most exciting stage, the transformation. This is where that collaboration and these new tools lead to a genuine breakthrough.
Let's go back to our artisan and designer. Here's their breakthrough moment. Using AI-powered design tools, they start to scan the traditional, hand-woven motifs and blend them with modern aesthetics. You see, they aren't replacing tradition, they're amplifying it, creating this amazing hybrid style that's both timeless and totally contemporary.
So the really crucial point here is the role of technology. This is what we call Gen AI enablement. It's about using generative AI not just for efficiency, but to deepen the story. For example, instead of just a photo of a piece of clothing, what if AI could animate the stories that are literally woven into the fabric? This is where the magic really happens. For instance, just imagine an AI project that analyzes the intricate embroidery on the artisan's garments and then generates these animated stories of the forgotten folktales they represent. Now, a piece of clothing isn't just a product anymore. It's a portal to a culture's history. That is transformation in action. So we've seen the challenge, we've seen the framework, and we've seen the breakthrough. Now for the final, and honestly the most important stage, turning all of that creative energy into measurable, real-world impact.
This is the resolution of our story. And what a resolution it is. The collaboration between the artisan and the designer, it doesn't just result in a few new products. No, it evolves into a full-on, sustainable fashion startup. This new venture creates jobs, it preserves culture, and it builds this powerful connection between tradition, innovation, and the entire community.
So what does success or excellence really look like here? Well, it's defined by some clear markers. First, using SMART goals, that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound to track real impact, like sales or the number of artisans they employ. Second, it's about celebrating that personal journey, from frustration to fulfillment. And finally, it's about fostering a growth mindset to make sure this is just the beginning.
And this is where the vision just totally scales up. The journey of our single artisan isn't just one story, it's a seed. The whole goal of this framework is to plant 1,000 more, with each one being a startup that uses story and technology to solve a unique, human-centered challenge.
Ultimately, this is what it all weaves together to become. It's not just a business, but a living thread. It's such a powerful metaphor for how these seemingly separate elements, the past and the future, art and technology, the individual and the community, can be woven into a single, strong, and prosperous whole. And that brings us to the end of this explainer. But really, it's a new beginning, because the framework we've just walked through is a tool for anyone. So the final question isn't about our artisan, it's about you. Seeing this journey, what challenge will you take on? What thread of change will you choose to weave?